Hello, welcome to the Sunday Miracle Lab, and I am Shirley. And today I am streaming live on YouTube and also on Facebook. And I'm going to be speaking about the life purpose, the life lesson, and why the soul is here, what it's here for. And it sounds like my grandson just came to interrupt. So, hi, grandson. Hi. Hi. Oh, bye, Bobo. Bye, Willie. Her grandson came to visit. Okay. So today I'm going to be talking about the life purpose. And life purpose is your natural inborn soul energy. It's almost like the thing that you're streaming, that you as a vibrational energetic being are streaming to the whole world just by being yourself, just by being who you are. Ah, nice, Tracy. Good to see you. So your life purpose is like, it's the energy that you're putting off. It's your vibration. It's your message. It's your level of soul development. It's your, and purpose is a little more specified than that because it is putting off, it is the thing that you're here to really experience and be and embody and enjoy. So a lot of people, when I look at their hands and I see that they have an artist life purpose and they're not living anything near an artist life purpose, that artistic natural energy runs through them, but there's something off in their being that's allowing them to be that artist. Now, Picasso probably had an artist life purpose, and we hope that throughout his lifetime that he's embodied the artist enough days that by the end of his life that he's left a legacy of work. And so this is life purpose. This is your natural energy. Now there are only really I don't know how many options are there. Now, as far as categories, there are 10 major categories. There are 3 subcategories. So really there's about 13 total life purposes that, if we were to say a room that's filling with all kinds of wonderful things in it, there's only 13 places that are distinct from one another as far as life purpose. So let's just say that life purpose, like it breaks down into life purposes that are more personal life or inner world or family oriented, and life purposes that are more out in the world oriented. We take the same energy of success and we bring it on in an outer world expression, and it looks like money, and it looks like really being able to complete the things that you want to complete. As you are going throughout life, it's like picking a garden plot and being able to plant that entire garden plot and be successful in the yield of what you're bringing forward out of that garden, right? Now that looks like in the inner life, it looks like being a successful family glue person, like a matriarch, right? So if we look at out in the world and at home, this is where these two distinction lies for the same area, right? The same kind of theme gets divided between outer and inner world, family world, and relationship world versus worlds, out in the world, business related, like job related. So this is like the life purposes. Now there's a couple of them that are really hard to see, that are not really quite as visible in the world and not really as understood in the world, and those ones are ones that are from the palm, and the ones from the fingers are very visible. People know what they are. So these are all clubs that the personalities of life get divided into. So life purpose is divided into those clubs, as is personality, as is life lesson. Now, the whole goal of life and the goal of the soul and what it is rushing is it is in an attempt to get to the highest expression of self. It has an obstacle, which is the life lesson that it is elevating, right? So that means that it is that the soul is working through something that is very difficult, getting an education in an area that's very difficult for them, very opposite possibly of their personality, very absolutely in their wounding. And through that obstacle, they are uh, overcoming. And the thing that gives your life purpose strength in hand analysis is the life lesson, right? In other words, if you want to go, you can't just go directly and push on your life purpose and push on your life purpose. So let's say if you're a Picasso, just go straight to the art and just do the art, right? Though that artistic energy naturally emanates from you, right? The place to press is the life lesson, because the life lesson is kind of like the drag, the tension that is kind of like offsetting your life purpose. So this can be a very, very difficult task. I talked a little bit the last time I did a Miracle Sunday about the life lesson, and the life lessons are kind of ugly. They're kind of gross feeling. They're kind of awful. They're the things that trigger you, that make you like really, really feel disembodied. When we get triggered, our heart rate increases, our stomach can feel like it has a pit inside of it. Our we can feel numb and being able to speak. We can have dilated eyes. We can feel like an animal that's being hunted in a meadow, right? That's how we feel when we're triggered often. Everything gets really skewered with life lesson. It gets skewed. It gets turned upside down. Life lesson is like that fisheye lens that completely flips us into a different part of ourselves, a much more helpless part of ourselves, a much more shame-ridden part of ourselves, a part of ourselves that is very distrustful. So each of us has a life lesson that is different. And there are some people, they don't struggle with shame at all. They just happily walk around in their naked body on the beach and a nudist beach. They just have no shame whatsoever in their life. They don't feel ashamed of who they are in the slightest. And some people are so crippled by it that they can barely get out of bed in the morning. It's a uh, pretty big gap between people and how they respond to certain kinds of events and certain kinds of feelings. So life lesson is kind of like it's a room that it's like a pit. You're walking along, like in the what was the Swiss Family Robinson, the little boy set a trap for the tiger as one of their weapons against the pirates. And the tiger's just walking along and it thinks it's just walking along on the ground. And then all of a sudden, boom, I gotcha. You're in a pit and the lion's mad, right? But with us, often with our life lesson, we're walking around, everything's camouflage. We just fall into it. And next thing you know, we're not usually acting like a lion that's trying to get out of it. We're often like a defeated, small child being that feels completely helpless and overwhelmed by what's going on. And you'll see that people, when they get triggered by their life lesson, they do really, really dumb things. They can sometimes, like, oh, like in life, we often get these adult strategies that are going on, right? We can get these adult strategies where we begin to look at things in more than just 5 minutes, right? Like immediate gratification, but begin to look at things in weeks and months and years, and start to look at the bigger picture of what's really good for us. If we're eating like a child, we'll just eat candy and ice cream and all of those kind of things all the time. If we're eating like an adult, we're eating things that give us the energy and the power to have powerful and beautiful bodies, to that give us don't make our tummy hurt, that give us a stable energy mood. like protein and things like that. So that's what happens, with adult strategies. Now, these strategies are strategies that we've had going on since we were children, and they are like really, really dumb strategies that maybe worked when we were really young and protected us and made us um, get through whatever it is that we had to go through when we were young. But it doesn't really, to eat gallons of ice cream because maybe um, it keeps you safe from a predator in the family or something like that may be a really good strategy when you are a 5-year-old, but it isn't a very good strategy when you're 40 years old and 400 pounds and killing yourself, right, off of ice cream. So this is the life lesson. If you were to look at every single person that you know in your life and every stupid thing that they're doing, they have got a blind spot. And the thing that's amazing is that we don't all have the same blind spot. So it doesn't matter if you are really healthy or really, like, everyone pretty much but you can see your blind spot. There's a few people that have the exact same blind spot and they can't see it. But this is where other people's actual advice and other people's actual observations do come into really, really handy, because we don't see this part of life clearly. We see it with a fisheye lens, and it's skewed. And so when we are in this position of life lesson, when it gets activated, which I would say happens a lot more for people than they even know, than they even realize. How many times this week were you powerless? Did you act like a helpless, powerless child when this week, if you have that life lesson? How many times did you approach life with complete and utter distrust, or maybe even too much trust, if that's the way that your life lesson has gone? How many times have you eaten crumbs and just lived your life like it's an apology because your life lesson has got the better of you? It probably is happening all the time to you, and you may not see it. But again, this is like something that's just sucking the energy out of your propelling yourself forward in life, right? There is no person that is not succeeding in life that isn't being bothered by their life lesson, by their blind spot, by the part of them that is so deeply injured that they can barely navigate in that area of life, right? And you look at people's lives, and I study people's lives a lot. And what you find is it's like, oh my gosh, this person has everything. They have all the talent. They have all of this. They have all of that. They have everything. They just don't have any money. If they could just figure out the money thing, my God, their whole life would just be great, right? And then there's people that have relationship problems, right? And they, like, man, if they could just figure out the relationship thing, then boy, golly, life would be really good for them. They've got the money, they've got the this, they've got the that. Then there's some people that seem to have all those things off, right? Because we can have more than one life lesson. People can have actually 9 or 10 life lessons, which is really, really difficult. And it becomes like a theme. So when it's a life lesson that is just one, like everything's a life lesson. It's like having a portal open to these different areas of life that are kind of like funneling some energy off of you all the time. And in some ways, that is easier to attend to sometimes than it is to just have 5 of them, because when it becomes all of them, it becomes a theme, and then you have certainly one thing that you can attach to, one thing that you can begin really working on, and by doing that, it opens up your whole life. And so the whole reason why we'd want to explore life lesson, why we would want to work in this particular area of life, is because we want to open up we want to explode and expand our lives, right? We want the life that we want. We want the money. We want the business. We want the leadership positions. We want the relationships. We want the power, right, in the world. We want to be giving messages to the masses. We want to share our hearts with people, right? So everybody's got a different life purpose and a different life lesson. And so this is why we can't really judge other people by our own standards, because they have a completely different obstacle course. And even though you don't see it, it's still there, right? And like the rules, like some people are here to learn to be more selfish because they have a real problem with overgiving, with people pleasing. Some people, they're here learning how to be more selfish, and some other people are here learning not to be so selfish, right? So these are some of the obstacles that we go up against, and you're having the same problems every single day of every single week of every single year, and it has a particular costume and it has a particular thing, but your mind edits it out. It does not see the solution. It does not see what is possible, and that is because it is a blind spot. It is a place where you have a personal distortion. Okay? Personal distortion with reality. And we could say that these are things, this is the place that lower energies move through us, right? This is the place where we get sidetracked. There's a lot of things that are very trustworthy and very wonderful about each one of us, but this area is the area that is not. And we have to come into pretty much everybody, when they're tangling with their life lesson, like feels like a narcissist, right? Because they get completely wrapped in some distorted, weird field with themselves. And it's difficult to deal with people that are not in now time. You think you're talking to an adult, but you're talking to a helpless 3-year-old child, right? So this is what is often happening with life lesson. Life purpose just happens when we do the hard work of looking at the things that we don't want to look at. And it's not even that we don't want to look at it, it's unconscious. Like, we don't see it. It is blind. It's amazing. I used to try to do, when I was teaching intensives about life lessons, I would try to do an early bird discount. And one of the visions that I had about that is like, there is no early bird discount, because you're asking people to come and to begin to grapple and to begin to deal with the thing that is most difficult for them. And the part of them, the life lesson part of them, is completely aware of what you're going to make them do. That part is like psychic, 12 steps ahead. And early discounts didn't work with working life lesson. People just either got the bravery to jump into it or they didn't. And to become conscious of their subconscious patterns. So life lesson, it's an opportunity, though. It is really a gift, because it is the expansion that you're going through as an individual. It is your personal expansion ticket. Okay? It's the thing you least want to do in the whole world. That's for sure. It's the thing you're least interested in. It's not your favorite. And yet, if you go there, and the thing is that you'll never be a superstar in this area. You'll never be a genius kid wonder in this particular area of life. Your life purpose is what you're the kid wonder in. But you never will be that in this part of life, because this part of life, the best you can do is learn how to navigate it, see it, attend to it, and try to elevate it as much as you can in the world. That's the best that you can do. So if you were like, in the Raiders of the Lost Ark, the movie, there, the guy who, what is his name? He's Harrison Ford, but the character, I can't even think of it. My brain's just drawing a blank. But the way that, he's like in this ancient booby trap, right? And he's got to push this and do that and do this. And that somehow disarms the ancient booby trap. And then he can go inside and get the Holy Grail or whatever it is that he's after. Indiana Jones, that's it. So, and this is kind of how life is set up for us. And it is a miracle when we figure this out. It is a miracle when we begin to work on it. It's a miracle because what it does for our life is absolutely beautiful and earth shattering, because it's like, often most of us are trying to go one way. We're trying to walk. We have this goal. This is where we're going. This is what we're doing. I want to have the successful career. I want to have this beautiful family. I want to find my soulmate and have children. I want to make my parents proud. I want to have success in the world and have plenty of resources, right? I want to create. I want to have time. Some people, their biggest dream is just to have enough money so they can sit and create something, right? So we all have those dreams of what we want from life, things that we would like to be experiencing. And we usually come to those decisions about what we want to experience due to the contrast of not having them. So you see a little boy who doesn't have enough food when he's young, and his family is hungry all the time. And you see that in his life, who he becomes is this person who makes sure that he's always got enough money, an abundance of groceries in the house, right? A cold child may have 12 coats. That might be their dream. Again, this cuts us out to be on the path that we are. Now, one of the things about me is that I am a general contractor, I'm a builder. And one of the things that happened that brought me to that place was my house being made fun of, being poor and living in a house that didn't have beautiful bunk beds like some of my friends, that were totally coiffed and ironed and beautiful, right? And I didn't have that. So that lack of set me out on the path of becoming the lady who has not one or two or three nice houses, but many nice houses, right? Because I build them and I sell them. But yes, so becoming a woman who owns properties has been part of what my life purpose is about. Now you can study the ancient technologies of hand analysis. Hand analysis is very accurate because it's a map of your consciousness and it's a map of your life purpose and your life lesson. And that's all recorded through your fingerprints. It's like your personal GPS system that was plugged into this experience for you. And I believe that those fingerprints actually, I don't know if they energetically control what is happening for you, but there could be something along that line that's happening, because they're energy patterns. When the energy of the soul sets in, that's when the fingerprints come into the body. So, and that happens 4 to 5 months before you're born. So, like the plan is set. So what ends up happening though is that we end up going through all of these different expansions, which are like a taffy pull in life, right? Where this kind of creature is becoming this kind of creature, that both the creatures are inside the person and they're tugging, going this way and that way. And that's what's happening all throughout their life, is this push and pull of opposites, right? And I often will say that the angels have just like got their bags of popcorn and they're like, oh my gosh, this is so amazing. Like when you put this, let's just say that a man does not get a mother's love because his mother's wounded and she's not able to love in the way that a mother needs to love a child. That man he didn't get anything. He's born with an empty cup, right? So what is he going to do? He's going to be stingy. He's going to be cheap. He's going to be petty with himself and his energy and his love. And he's going to be very self-protective. And he's going to be really, really hungry for everything he doesn't have, right? Because he didn't get his basic full cup that we all should get, right? So that kind of person, that comes in with a very generous, easy personality at the same time, maybe their natural birthright, their life purpose is to be this very naturally magnetic, attractive person that things just come easily to, right? That this Libra energy that is just like, you know, life is just good and easy, right? So that person could be that person in their being, and they're born and they get an empty cup, and it causes a wounding that takes them into years and years of believing that they're ugly, believing that they never have enough, that like they just live in a perpetual desert of lack, right? And all the while, their birthright, their life purpose is this very abundant creature. And that taffy between of flipping back and forth between that abundant state and that lack state is like creating something. It's pulling something. It's the soul is experiencing a shift of perspective. And if you want to look at the way that souls come in, we come in to not one experience, but we come into many experiences. And we are not having an experience only on planet Earth, but we are having experiences on trillions of inhabited planets. This planet is isolated for a reason, because it's a free will planet and there are invaders who have invaded here. And so we have a lot to contend with, and we are considered the bravest, those of us. We are the final frontier runners. We are the pioneers. Those of us who have decided to come into this madness and be a part of this planetary experience. And so, in having all of these experiences, what has the soul gained? That bigger soul that's having the trillions of experiences is oversoul. Okay? And if we were to say, who is God? God is oversoul, all of our oversouls put together, made into one congruent body that's in full communication and full alignment. Right? And who you are in this experience is a fragment of that oversoul energy, much less the God energy. So when we say here, I mean, some of us have spiritual understandings. We're like, oh, I am God. I am part of God, right? That is absolutely true, but we do not possess the power of God here in this moment, in this little fragmented part of ourselves, though we do have access to it. We do have access, and this is what the Miracle Sundays are about, is about retraining and opening and expanding your mind enough to where hopefully you're going to begin to get into touch with your more powerful self instead of staying perpetually in your uninformed and helpless self here on this planet. The way that this planet is set up, though, the oversoul, when it comes here, it commits to a certain number of life cycles. Now, each oversoul is a cell in the body of God, and that cell is a particular kind of being. It is not wanting to necessarily be something other than what it is. It may explore its opposites, it may explore other things, but it will always come back to its own stasis, its own homeostasis of being self, right? And the oversoul has put itself into all of these different experiences, right? So when we look at life from where we are, I, as Shira Lee, in this place and this time, I am only seeing just a little tiny window in a big multitude of windows that are complete with feelings and understandings and full-on experiences. This is a really amazing thing that the soul can do, that it can divide itself into all these other experiences and yet be completely whole and itself. So the soul has like a memory in this plane of existence that is carried forward from time to time. Now, all of the times is there's really no past lives or future lives, even though that's how we experience it with our conscious mind, because when we leave this body, we will not have our conscious mind and we'll have something completely different, right? And that's what everybody talks about in the near-death experiences and the life and between life experiences. All of the experiences, they are they're back. They're not back. They are, you know, we disconnect from the things that are important to us on this realm, and we get into the bigger picture. We suddenly have access to the full Akashic records, to all knowledge, all everything. We remember everything in one moment. We see our entire lifetime, all of the different pieces, all the people we've ever heard. We see their perspectives, right? And that's what happens when we leave our bodies. Um, but the soul is experiencing like these 500 different experiences all at the same time. So from the oversoul level, it's all happening at once, but it feels like a linear progression, like we're going to the spirit world and coming back and going to the spirit world and coming back, and we're going through this process because that we have some kind of mechanism that has allowed us to have that kind of experience, even though that's not the absolute truth. It's more of a perception. Um, but these experiences allow us to try on a lot of personality traits. And guess what you're looking for in all of these personality traits? You're looking for your true nature. You're remembering who you are. You're remembering the multifacetedness of who you are. You're recreating your oversoul personality on this plane of existence. Your personhood, your soulness, your ness in the godness, right? And so the thing that's very interesting is that we seem to carry a lot of memories, which kind of are like a mind thing, like where we can watch movies that play from other times. We can go visit past lives and view our future lives and view different pieces of information from those lifetimes. We can also, our emotional self seems to be open in all lifetimes. In other words, whether you're, when we look at, if you, and the reason we know this is because if you look at it from a behavioral, behavior therapist perspective, let's say, where you're going into the person's consciousness, if they have any kind of trauma from 0 to now, then you can find it, you can attend to it, and the problem will subside, whatever weird problem that they've got going on. It could be some kind of plucking their eyebrows out. It could be, people get all these weird little nervous tics, these little tics that go on in their system from all these fears and phobias and things and life lessons and things that they've experienced. So what happens is that we can go on that timeline of the person's life, and sometimes they can have the problem, but there's no thing there. So then when we say to the individual, when they're in a relaxed state where they open up into their interdimensional self, which is what we do when we're in deep relaxed states, and we attend to our emotions and things like that, if we're in an overwhelming time where we're going through a divorce and we're working 5 jobs and our mother's dying and all those different things, there's no way we're going to be able to get into the interdimensional self. If we're somebody that's hypermental, which is becoming hypermental is a form of self-protection. That's like ballooning up and getting fat because, you have a molester uncle or something, right? It's the same way with being hypermental. It's like you're trying to hyper figure it all out to keep yourself safe. It's a hyper protective state. And hypermental people have a harder time going into the interdimensional self. But most people can go into the interdimensional self with some work and with some attendance. So sometimes it might take, a few sessions, a few things, and you might need to be in a place in your life that you're feeling okay, that you'd be able to actually go into the interdimensional travel. But when we go into interdimensional travel, we can go to these lifetimes and we can remember all of these different fragments, right? And we can say, in the behavioral perspective, we can say, go to the source of this problem, where it started. And often it will go to past lives. Sometimes it'll even go to the spirit world. Sometimes, and there are more people here that have brought interplanetary influences than probably ever before. And we might, it's almost like the body is a vessel that can be filled, right? And there are beings from other planetary systems that have, gotten on the water slide to come into Earth for a while because they're here for this great transition that we're going through. Some of them energetically hold grids and different things like that are happening. But we're going through a massive energy shift here very shortly on planet Earth because we're coming to the end of a big learning cycle. And if we were to say, what is this learning cycle? We have more adult souls that have been incarnating here for the last 500 lifetimes than we've ever had before. So this is kind of like a graduation where Earth is going to be moving into a next level, a next time. So this planet was not meant to be, from the very beginning, it was not meant to be a planet of sheer difficulty that it is. And that's because lower energies invaded here. And the lower energies are difficult. And when I talk about the life lesson, that is the place where the lower energies have invaded your life. They've laid with you from the time that you're children, and they've convinced you that you're something that you're not. So you're like this giant elephant that's tied to this little tiny thing. And when we're little, they can tie us to the ground, and we will fight and struggle and not be able to get away. But when we are grown and we are mighty, we still behave as though we're the little baby elephant, right? And that's what life lesson is. And if you look at people's lives, this is what's messing them up. There's not one person in your life that is having a problem that isn't their life lesson. The life lesson is the place of wounding. It's the place where the pain gets in. It's the place of blindness. It's a place of distortion. And we need help navigating this area. And what is this time right now? What is special about this time? Did you know that Jesus said lots and lots of years ago, there was an insane person, a person that was obviously had lots of different kinds of other dimensional beings living inside of it, where doing weird, strange things. I mean, it's not normal, some of the things that people do. Like, I know one woman that had some kind of possession. She would rub feces all over the dishes in the kitchen and things like that, right? Like who does that? Like, just crazy things that are not, we're not talking even mental illness. We are talking beyond mental illness. We are talking possession, right? People that, hurt children, massive scales. Those people are possessed by something, right? There is something that has gained access to them that is not natural. And what happens with these lower energies, and Jesus took them out of the man, and he gave us some clues about them. He said, well, what's the use of taking them out? And if he doesn't really clean his house, then they're all going to come back and bring some friends, right, with them to inhabit again, right? And there was also some talk of, he took them out of one guy and put them into some swine, and the swine, the beings were scared, and he said, it's not yet time to destroy these lower energies. And Jesus knew that wasn't the time, but we are coming into the time where the time is coming, where we are taking our power back from these lower entities, and they will be destroyed. And so if you can imagine, this planet wasn't meant to be like this, but this planet was meant to be a place where the loved ones of God could come and try on different personality stuff, right? But not having to deal with this really heavy, dark energy of these lower energies. And if we were to look at all of the problems that humanity is facing right now, okay, the big problems, huge problems. I mean, for the first years that we were here up until now, just surviving has been the big problem, right? Because it's been this is a difficult planet, because there's a lot of inroads that we've had to make as humans. There's a lot of developing love in ourselves that we've had to do in this particular plane, because we didn't really start out that way. We are informing and taking this animal and evolving it in love in a really powerful way. And the soul and the animal were built for one another. This is not any kind of animal abuse or any kind of anything. The soul and the animal are completely aligned in their interests. They were built for one another, is what I've been told. So the thing is that the time is coming for these particular energies to be loosed from us. And that's like Jesus also said, greater things than these shall ye do, right? Like he said, here he is healing blind people and healing the sick people and healing the people that are hurting and all of those things. What on earth could be greater than that? I used to ask myself as a child. I'd be like, what on earth could be greater than that? And it's amazing, because questions give answers, right? When we ask questions, when they formulate naturally, authentically in us, we're like, wait a minute, what on earth could possibly be greater than being able to work a miracle? Just boom, on the spot, turn water into wine, what, whatever, right? The knowledge of how we've created these things is way better, right? The knowledge of how to create miracles, the knowledge of what us, where we come from, what it's all about, the context, all of that is greater than just being able to work miracles. And so this Miracle Sunday is not just devoted to teaching people how to use their multidimensional power to perform miracles that they want for their loved ones, for themselves, but also to help them understand life, because there are some miracles that you are not able to have. And that is because you have to do it the hard way. And that's kind of the miracle itself of life lesson, right? Like, we have to work our life lessons. It's what we came for. It's blind. People don't know where it is. It's really seems really unfair, this thing that's knocking us upside the head. It's like, if you were to just even go this week and say, talk to all the people in your life, if you were to know me, you've known me for a long time, what kind of problems am I consistently having? What kind of theme do they have? What is, what is the same from week to week? For me personally, mine is always trust issues, right? That I'm having from week to week to week, and especially in relationships, right? This is my blind spot. This is where I was injured. This is where the light is breaking me open. Okay. And so we don't get miracles in those places. The miracle itself is that we get to work the life lesson, right? I mean, everything's a miracle, but we don't get to just bypass it. But it's actually a lot harder. It's a lot easier to work your life lesson than you think. It's a lot easier. I am so thirsty today. I don't know what's going on with me here, but I'm just like, wish I had another 2 big glasses of water. All I've got left is some decaf coffee. But anyways, I guess I could always text someone and see if they could bring me some more water. It's maybe just a little hot in here. I'm going to just ask because I am really thirsty. Okay, I can always ask. Anyway, so here on planet Earth, what we are learning is that, and this has really been our whole evolution here as humans. We are learning about our magic. We're learning about who we are, because everything that is so hard on this planet is absolutely 100% automatic and easy for us in spirit form. We actually work miracles, like everything. Every miracle that you could think would be the biggest miracle that you could imagine that we could do on this plane of existence, we do all of that, and that comes with the standard model of, it's like, I suppose if you were a stick, just born a stiff little stick or something that fell off a tree. I know that they started as a branch, but and just using that for example, or like it's like a fish walking on land would be such a weird thing for it, right? But that's kind of like what it's like for us, in our soul form, we are unlimited. All of the Beam Me Up Scotty, all of the Star Trek Enterprise and all of that, we come with a spaceship that is completely fully equipped with 100% force fields and protective things in place. There are no lower energies that bother us when we are in soul form and in our spiritual form, our energetic form. And we don't need to replicate food. We don't need bathrooms. We don't need toilet paper, right? We are 100% completely self-sustainable. We don't need to even recycle or none of that, right? Like all these human worries that we have about things are not things at all that we experience when we're in soul form. And yeah, it's really amazing because we can actually create any place that we want to be. We can all other beings are sovereign beings. We all respect each other's privacy. We all 100%, like, it's only the little kids that basically go around and, like, we can all, everything's like 100% transparent, right? So you could look into someone else and their memories and their Akashic records and all their stuff when you're in spirit form, but you don't, because you're interested in what you're doing, and you're not interested in invading other people's privacy in that way. We just know everything about everyone. We have beautiful, beautiful love connections that is 100% complete, right? So we don't need tractor beams. We don't need replicators. We don't need all of these marvelous things that we wish that we could have as human beings, to be able to transport instantly from one place to another. Like, it's such a limiting thing to be here on this planet and to have to learn to be helpless, and to learn to crawl, and to learn to walk, and to learn to speak, and all of these things that are just absolutely automatic for us as souls, to be able to be communicate and be heard and be loved, and our relationships are all beautiful, and we all live in absolute abundance, right? I was singing the summertime the other day, that it's like a, I think it's from Porgy and Bess, but I was singing it for the children of earth, like, children of earth, why are you crying? Yeah, the fish are jumping and the water is high. Your daddy, he's rich, and your mama, she's lovely. Oh, hush, little babies, don't you cry, right? Because where our Father is the kingpin of abundance, right? And our mother, she's the most loving of all loving creatures. She is the mother of love, right? These are the beings that we come from. And we have absolute provision in these spiritual realms. And yet we've come here to forget, because that's what we do when we're children. We're helpless and we forget, and we have all these things. And hopefully we're going to come back into the remembering who we are, because you still are soul. Just because you're a human doesn't mean that you're not soul. You still have all of the supernatural powers that you always have had, and any experience. It's just you've been brainwashed out of them. And you look around at this reality, and everybody else has been brainwashed out of them. We're all struggling to survive, right? But the truth is that we still are the children of the abundant Father, and the children of the lovely, loving Mother. We still are those children, even though we are here. And so my life's work is about re-educating people, helping them to remember their power. And these powers, they show up in so many beautiful ways. They show up, and the way that we search for them now is through difficulty, right? In other words, we are just oblivious until something goes wrong. When something goes wrong, when our child dies, when something happens, when our love leaves, when we come to the end of not finding love, whatever it is in life that we are coming to the end of, there is always the abundance in that, right? Like when we get brainwashed out of being our powerful selves, and then we come into a time of remembering ourselves. And so I really hope that right now it is like, while everyone's been sleeping, these dark energies, man, they have been a playing, and they have been playing you, and they have been playing me. And most of the problems that are on your plate right now, the problems that are in your body, the joints that hurt, the eyes that aren't functioning, all of these different things that are happening, the body aches and pains, the fact that you can hardly find food that isn't poisoned, the fact that they're poisoning our spies, all of these different things, these dark energies have been at play. And it is time for us to wake up. It is time for us to remember who we are. It is time for us to learn our life lessons and to expand into our greatness, because we are all great. Every single one of us. Every one of us is valuable. Every one of us, we are all part of a whole of a God family. And we are about ready to remember our God heritage. We are about ready to remember our God family. And I've spent my lifetime remembering and getting out of my boxes, because we don't have to create it with pain. We don't have to wait until someone dies. We don't have to wait until our entire world is shattered. We can do it now. Oh my goodness, you are so wonderful. Thank you. Ah. So we don't have to create with this like this anymore. And my oversouls, they told me that I came from a higher energy plane. In other words, just more neural pathways turned on in this area, because I'm here to bring a message of a higher way of doing things, a better way of doing things. We don't have to wait until our legs are amputated to stop eating the sugar. We don't have to wait until our whole lives are crushing down around us for us to call out for our soul and to remember our soul. We can go in and we can begin to consciously create with our soul today, every day. And every moment and every obstacle is an opportunity for us to remember that greatness. Every single opportunity, every single obstacle, every moment, every time we are hurting, it's an opportunity. Every time we're anxious, every time that something isn't going our way, there is either an opportunity to learn to love and expand into the yes or the no that's being offered to us, or something else is better is coming around the corner. So, or we can work a miracle to transform the obstacle that's in front of us. And so what I'm doing in these Miracle Sundays is I'm helping people to expand their mind so that they can break out of these prisons that we are in and remember the unlimited nature that we naturally have inherently, right? So we can work so many different kinds of miracles. We can heal any element. It doesn't matter how big it is. It doesn't matter if it's cancer. It doesn't matter if it's all of these different things. These are deep inset patterns, sure, but we can overcome these things. And it's amazing, just hardly even trying. If we were to say, what is the bottom of the rung of miracles? That is the altruistic nature that we all have when we join our energy together and our minds align up and we begin to ask for things that we want and work on them together in our own in our spirits. And there's a lady who's doing experiments on the circle of 8, and it's a mind-based supernatural gifting that we have, that we can gather in a group of 8. Our minds can sync up on an issue where we discuss an issue and we support, and our minds start to all fire together in a state of altruism. And in that state, anything that any person in that group asks for and focuses on with intention with the group, we get it 40% of what it is. It doesn't matter what it is. 40% of the time we get whatever we ask for in that group. So that's like the bottom rung of the creative expression that we have available to us, right? That's beautiful and amazing. In other words, that doesn't take a lot of spiritual development. We're talking like anyone. Get into a group, 8 people, ask, focus, see it, visualize it, just focus on it with your intention for like 10 minutes. And guess what? 40% of the time, that has more efficacy than any prescription drug. Do you know how much money and time and energy and how many people have been putting all their soul power towards prescription drugs for 100 years now? Lots. How many billions of dollars have gone into creating these dumb things? Because they're pretty dumb. Most of them are made out of petroleum. And they do, they have all these side effects because they are isolating intentions from the other intentions, right? That balance and support it. Compassion without all of the other things involved is becomes something that's like poison that rots your head, puts a hole in your brain. So we haven't even begun to tap into what we can do as a people, as a community, as what we can do with our power, right? Because I believe that if we were to sync up our power and if we were to grow our power and begin to really explore the interdimensional, I love you too, Julia, really explore the interdimensional plane that we all have access to. I mean, can you believe that you can take a deep dive inside of yourself and you can talk to one of the masters of the universe because that is you? You are that? Inside of you, all of the answers that you would ever need for any question in your life is right inside of you. And all you have to do is spend some time going there. And it's a little awkward. It's a little funny at first. It's a little strange, right? But the more time you dive, the more times you go, the more treasure you bring back. And we all have access to this. We are not ever going to find the great spiritual truth from one person. We are going to find the great spiritual truth by going and diving into these deep areas and bringing forward treasure and putting them all in a pile and saying, wow, look what we've got. It comes through all of us. I am not interested in yesterday's spiritual inspiration. I am not interested in the spiritual inspiration from 3,000 years ago. That is not the cutting edge of what the God family is doing now. The God family is wanting to move now, and it's wanting to move through you, and it's wanting to move through me. And when we join that intention together, the sky's the limits. There is no problem that we could not solve for this planet. We still are those fully resourced souls. We are soul and we are human animal. And sure, we have to play by the game that our soul set and put into this experience for us to come in. So your life lesson, if you've got a life lesson in money and you're not tapping into the abundance every single day that's all around you and becoming a follower of your great abundant father and beginning to say like, okay, where's my abundance today? Where is it today? Is it here? Is it there? Is it there? And abundance comes in so many different ways. This is truly an abundant planet that we are on, and it is tied to produce, and when we ask it to bring it forth, abundance for us. It is tied to that. And so if you have an abundance life lesson, then that means that you have an injury there. You're distorted and skewed in that particular area. And maybe you've got your eye on that your abundance is coming from other people, and that's probably not where it's coming from. It's not anyone else's job to take care of you on this planet. It's God's job to take care of you. You got to tap into your own personal source of abundance because you have one. You got to pull all the icky scales off and throw them in the garbage, and all the times that you suffered and all the times that you felt like things weren't there for you, but they were, because you're still here. You're still here. Obviously, abundance has been working in your favor because we could not survive on this plane if it wasn't. And if you are having a relationship life lesson in this lifetime, then guess what? There is going to be no substitute for trust here. You either trust or you don't, but you're not going to get other people to just give you all the trust that you need, right? I don't care how many psychics you talk to. I don't care how many people you go and have them look through your back door to tell you what's right for you. It's not going to be the same as when you actually just trust up with and hook up with your bigger self and let that part inform you, right? You are learning how to trust. And when you are learning how to trust, your mantra is, I surrender, I trust, I surrender, I trust in every given moment of every fucking day. Excuse my language. But that is the mantra. that needs to be going on in your head, because it will open doors for you. It will relax you. The thing that's so absolutely incredible is that every single person that I know that has an injury in a particular place, do you know that that's actually where most of the treasure is, right? Like your lesson. So the thing that's crazy about me, I have a life lesson in trust, and it has been difficult. And I'm not, you know, like like I just wanted to back out of that uterus, go back, right? I was in utero in a very scary situation, and in my childhood in a scary situation, all the way up. Like I've been like a little cat on an inner tube on a lake my entire experience on this planet. And my nervous system has been like, ah, you know, at all the things that could go wrong. But guess what? What I am the most gifted at is trusting. Believe it or not, my superpower as a soul is I instill trust. I am trust. So, how bizarre that I am the very thing that I am injured in. And why do you think I was attacked there? Why on earth did the lower energies come after my trust? Because they were trying to disable me on this planet. That's why. So, do you know that most of the people that I know that have money problems are the most abundant people I've ever met? Right? Like, they're truly mavericks of abundance. They are Midas touch people in their truest self. But they got injured, and guess what? They live in this little place where everything's always falling apart. And there's not enough abundance to take care of it all. The shoes are always getting holes, and the tires are always having problems, and the keys are always getting locked in the car. There's never enough money for them, right? But that's not true. So the thing that's amazing is when they actually tune into their more adult self, when they begin to say, okay, guess what? I have a problem in this area, and I'm going to begin to get a wheelchair because I need some help. I'm going to start taking every class I can on money management. I am going to start doing David Ramsey's whatever. I'm going to start, doing this. I'm going to create a system to where I click my key on my person every single time before I close my door on my car, right? Like creating systems and creating adult things to basically undergird themselves in the area that they're weak. And the people that do this, they eventually move into actually starting their own business. They become so good at managing their life lesson that they now have a wheelchair, and they can like take it around the town and look at me, and I have a bank account, and I have a Venmo, and I have all those things, and thank you, exchange, cha-ching, cha-ching. I've got this thing of value that you want. And David Ramsey himself is probably one of those success stories, right? Like he went from being poor and having a life lesson in money management to absolutely having a business where he's teaching other people how to manage their money, right? David Ramsey's this Christian dude that teaches people how to manage their money. And he's got some good concepts, and he's got some that are not so smart in some of today's finances. He tells you not to use credit cards at all. He has you try to get cash as much as it for everything, pay for your car's cash, get your house paid off, all those different things. But I have seen a lot of people that have done their David Ramsey, and they have done really, really well. Like he has helped a ton of people get to the place of where they're really financially abundant. One of my neighbors did it, one of my cousins, and they both now have big fat savings accounts and good money businesses and things coming in, and they have houses that are paid off and cars that are paid off, and they have real peace in their life with finances, right? So the thing is if you have money problems, taking classes, getting literate in this particular area, learning about finance, listening to YouTubes on finance, understanding how this world of exchange and the outer world works, right? That is the life process that you're in. So when I work with people, the thing that I focus with them on is that's what we always work on every single time. Every single question to every answer is work your life lesson, right? Work your life lesson. Get yourself to a place of stability. Get some systems in place for yourself so that you are not getting caught in this same trap every single other day, right? And then, what happens is that as soon as you get a good savings account and you start living with some cash or whatever it is that you're doing with your finances, what ends up happening is that the real life purpose just turns on. Yes, and feeling abundance does also bring abundance. Feeling lack does attract lack, but at the same time, there's a place. It's different with life lesson, because the people that have a life lesson in a particular area, they're truly handicapped there. They are they're challenged in that area. Like they didn't get the basic education that they needed, and there's more trouble there than for the average person. I mean, when I meet people and I look at their fingerprints and I see that they have a money life lesson, I know that the water that they've been swimming in, that they've been drowning in for the last 20 years, the last 30 years, right? Now, what you often find with people that have that life lesson is they can switch to the other side of it, which is where they're really cheap and they're really, still scared, still not living in abundance. They have the big bank account and all that, but they're still terrified to spend anything or do anything. They're just still living in that lack. And that can happen too. 20% of people naturally come in that way, on that chintzier side of that life lesson. 80% of people have problems the other way, right? Which is money flows through their fingers and they never have enough of it, right? So, it's very interesting because that particular life lesson has to do with responsibility. And often you will find that people that have a lot of money problems, they actually really hate rich people and people that have money. And they also have some real issues with, just not really understanding basic responsibility things, right? In other words, like my shoes are my shoes, your shoes are your shoes. If we're talking to a kindergartner, if they're wearing somebody else's shoes because they like them better or something like that, right? We're talking, most of the people that I dive really deep into these life lessons and into the beliefs, they believe that, it's kind of a Robin Hood thing, that their whole life is about putting the rich down and stealing from the rich, right? Those kinds of attitudes. Versus, like, it's different than when you have a true appreciation of money and you have appreciation of people that actually are good at earning money, and you have an appreciation of what abundance does for us, and you're willing to take responsibility for what you want and earn it, right? That's a totally different orientation. Now, not everybody is in not everybody's in a different place with their life lesson. But life lesson, if you press on it, if you work on it, like if I have a trust life lesson, which means that I also have a communication life lesson, right? So my teacher was like, take the nonviolent communication, take this, right? Like his whole work with me was always on getting me to open up my statements and to help me to expand that it isn't always this way. To speak to where I can actually hear what I want to hear, instead of communicating in a combative way and expecting to hear something good back, right? I'm not going to hear anything good back if I'm approaching somebody in a combative type of way. And so, yeah, so in my family, like we had really, all the females in my family have very combative communication styles. That's how we approach things. And it really does miss a lot of people in creating very peaceful and harmonious relationship and communication stuff, right? And often you're not understood in the way that you would like to be understood. So for me, like in having a communications life purpose, studying communications, if I can go anywhere to get a class on how to communicate better, on how to, and that's actually why I got into hands, because I could not believe the way that my teachers, like there's something that happens with hands, people that study them, is that they become less myopic in the idea of there are good people and bad people in the world, and they become more aware that there are lots of different personalities that have different ways of doing things. And I loved my teachers because no matter how difficult the person was, they could just speak their language and disarm whatever was going on, and they could just get to the heart of the matter. And they would do this with my classmates, and I would watch them and I would go, wow, that is just like the most skilled thing I have ever seen in my life, for them to be able to disarm someone with their communication and with their being able to reach understanding with the individual. So that's one of the things that I really was attracted to about hands, because the people that learn them really well and master the understandings that are just contained in it, they have this real ability to speak to others, communicate with others, and also to get out of really narcissistic family system dynamics. Because in narcissistic family dynamics, like everybody's not doing okay, and there's all this deflection, and there's all, everything's like really intense, and really there's always a victim, there's always a perpetrator, and there's always a rescuer, right? And when we look at life and we get out of looking at life in that way, which most of us grew up, I would say the original family system here on planet Earth is a narcissistic family system, right? And what you find when you get out of those lenses is that there's no more rescuers and perpetrators and victims. There are only people that are in different places in their lives doing different things, right? And it's a way different way of looking at life than I ever had any privilege of seeing before. And so yes, I've gone over the hour again. I do this quite often, but I'm quite passionate about life lesson and about the soul, and about what we can do. But I believe that we can take and begin to forge a relationship with our spiritual self. And a lot of people, and I would say the people that are attracted to me more likely have a relationship with their spiritual self than most of the people in the world, right? I have a much higher percentage of people that are that are more inroads in their spiritual dimensions. But the average person doesn't even know about their spiritual dimensions, much less how to access them, or how to do this really deep and beautiful work. And when we do this deep and beautiful work, we can actually unleash our potential. We can unleash our supernatural self, which has the ability to work all kinds of miracles, have all kinds of supernatural knowledge and abilities. And there are all kinds of things and technologies available that that are very natural and easy for us to use. We don't have to have cell phones to communicate with our loved ones. We can actually sit and we can just send them a message, and they will receive it. It's how it works, right? Like, and I test this all the time with my kids, right? We'll be even separated in cities, or they'll not have a phone on them. I will telepathically communicate with them, and they will respond. So it's like we don't need all these other fancy little gadgets to really know and understand one another. Though there are some things on this physical plane that are really pretty cool. However, there's not a technology that we have that the soul doesn't do 1,000,000 times better with no side effects. So, and no negative, right? No relationship challenges, no addiction, none of that, right? Like, we can get addicted to YouTube, we can get addicted to all of these different things, but the soul has access to much more than that. Anything you can find on YouTube. As far as it's like, I'm sure it was a little different and scary for people to go get on the internet the first time that they did it, right? And it was archaic, back, I remember when that happened, because internet came out right as about the time I was getting out of high school. and computers were just starting to get a little bit popular. And we had them like at my college, a room, a computer lab where we could go use computers and type and things like that. But internet was just kind of coming out. And somehow we all managed to communicate and get together and do a lot of things without cell phones. Now we just don't know how to do that at all. But the thing about the soul is that it has access. When we can go into our deeper self, we can actually do a deep dive, and we can go access the Akashic records, and we can have access to a lot more than what's on the internet, right? There's just a lot more available. So anyways, but learning how to use that, like they've told me that the internet has become like this addictive thing. It's like the sweet cookie and the sweet stuff in the middle of an Oreo cookie, right? And it's cutting us off from the overnet, which is our connectedness to the bigger self and the bigger conglomerate of self, right? And the bigger our guides and our multidimensional helpers. And it's also cutting us off from the undernet. They're like two black cookies that are just like sitting over top of, it's like it's all sugary sweet, and it's cutting us off from the undernet, which is, our traditions and our family and our time of sitting in nursing homes and talking to elderly people and things like that. The internet is kind of cutting off all this like the roots that have fed us from the bottom and the roots that have fed us from the top, and all we're getting is this sticky sweet thing in the middle, right? And but we have so much more that's available to us as human beings, and I believe that we haven't even started to hardly use our magic at all, and yet it's time, and I'm super excited about what we're going to do with that and the kind of transformation we're going to have for this planet. So thank you so much for joining me for Miracle Sunday. I have to get going. I've got some things I've got to do today, but thank you so much. I love you all, and thank you for coming. And I hopefully will, actually, I will not be here likely next Sunday. I might show an impromptu if I'm traveling. So there's a chance that if I'm at a place that I can do it, I think I'm going to be at an Airbnb. It's possible, but I'm going with my sisters for kind of a little weekend away. So I might just take the weekend off, I think, next week, and just spend some time with my sisters. So I will be back here the first Sunday of June on the 2nd, and blessings to you all. And I hope to see you when I get back on the 2nd. We'll talk to you soon. Bye-bye. Oh, Julie, I didn't see your thing. So you always rescue and you have an abandonment issue. So now you're moving in 6 weeks and your daughter is making you feel like you're abandoning her when you just don't want to live with her anymore. Yeah, so that sounds like a really stacked issue. The truth is that every mother was made to abandon her child at some point, right? And not truly abandoning, because the truth is you're not abandoning her. She can still call you. She can still email you. She can still FaceTime with you. She can still come visit you. So that's not an abandonment. Abandonment is when we, like there's, again, there's obviously a pattern deep in you that that's being tugged at, right? Something that's being activated. Maybe you had some abandonment issues in early childhood where you felt abandoned, and so maybe you have vows that you would never abandon anyone. I don't know, but maybe you prided yourself on. Yeah, it is ridiculous. It is ridiculous, but still honor the feeling, right? Honor the feeling. Sometimes the curiosity of like, where's this coming from, right? Because the truth is you've been abandoning yourself to stay with her, right? You've been abandoning yourself to stay in a situation that's not good for you. You said it's a bad situation for you, that you're getting used and bullied. So yeah, so you've been abandoning yourself. And um, the true relationships, don't ask you to abandon yourself for them, right? Um, the thing that's amazing is that you'll actually be able to show up a lot more and a lot better for your daughter this time of self-care and awareness, right? The thing is that I would challenge you with is to really keep the relationship open, to keep the communication open, to have regular calls with her, to do regular FaceTimes with her, because our tendency in life sometimes is to be, to feel like we have to be by ourselves in order to be ourselves, and or that if we're with other people that we lose ourselves by abandoning ourselves, right? Because that's really the big the big thing. That if you look at right thumb, which is what governs mother, and it governs relationships and matriarchy, okay? And now all people have all lessons, right, on some level. In other words, we all grapple with all of these issues, but the one that's just really, really difficult for us is is the life lesson. It's the one that just that we grapple with the very most. It's the deepest pit, right? We all get a speed bump, or fall into a pothole, right? So I'm not sure if you have a life lesson in this particular area or not, but I'll tell you what the key to healthy relationships are in this struggle of being lone wolf um, or sellout, right? Because that's how we can often feel. In order to be part of a community, in order to be part of people, we feel like we have to completely sell ourselves out, or we have to like we just have to give ourselves up and just become like everyone else, and lose our own sanctity, or we feel like we have to be a lone wolf and go be by ourselves and be completely on our own. And the healing balm to this is self-care. So the more self-care that you do, and maybe this self-care is moving, getting your own place, being away from her, right? And that self-care place, if you really press into, because you could just go into a lone wolf state where you're not really caring for yourself and you're not improving your situation, right? But you can go into your alone space with self-care and with communication and with keeping the relationship open, right? To where you can, because the truth is that you can be yourself and you can be part of a family. You can be connected to others. You can be part of a group. And that's the happy matriarch, right? The happy matriarch is the one that has relationships with all of her kids, who do things for themselves, but yet she's still absolutely able to have her own sanctity and her own self-care and her own place and her own power and her own control, and she's not just sacrificing herself for others, right? So this is that's the big taffy stretch of the matriarch, is like this taffy between, and I think every woman struggles with it throughout her life. Like we have fantasies sometimes of just going and being by ourselves, right? And not having to do any more dishes and cook any more meals for anybody else but ourselves, right? But the true place of happiness is when we give others their responsibility for themselves, and we stand in our own self-care and in our own authenticity, right? And that's the happy matriarch. She's the one with family, and she's the one that is not getting used, right? She's standing in her power. She's standing in her authentic feelings and communicating, right? So that's not true, Julia. You're not going to abandon your daughter. We all know you better than that. And there might be some adulting skills that she's going to have to be getting that she doesn't, that she, like it's so easy for us to just continue to do things for people because it's easy for us to do them. We've been doing them for so many years, right? It's just easy for us to do the dishes, and it's easy for us to slap together a meal and figure out the bills and figure out the things that need to happen. And so this is a really beautiful, beautiful journey for you guys. I have one of my little, well, two of my little chickadees flew the nest, and then my little Kellen, he took me out for Mother's Day last week, and it was really wonderful. You know, like he's living his life and he's having a good time and he's doing all the things that he loves, and he's got all these friends around and he's learning new skills and he's loving his job and all these different things. And you know, it's hard for me as a mom to just not have him around all the time. I miss his piano playing and I miss just being around him, but I'm happy for him. And the thing that's amazing is that in our lives, there are always other things that come to replace the things that we lose. You know, I have other people in my life, and I have my grandson and all kinds of other people that I didn't always have, right? That to hang out with and spend time with and be with. So yeah, it's beautiful being a matriarch, and you know, like our you know, keeping our connection, keeping our love with our children. You know, because it does get really, like, it's hard for us to make those decisions not to do anymore, not to enable, not um, to put up with those kind of things, right? It's difficult for us to stand in our ground. The thing is that you can do that there, or you can do that in your new place. You can do it wherever you are. But regardless, it sounds like you guys are both going to be going through a big transition, and you know, just have grace for one another. You know, through this period, right? And you know, and just look at it this way too. This is probably a great opportunity. You know, it is so hard for people to find a partner when their mother's still around, right? I keep telling my mother, I have one brother that, you know, he feels like he needs to stay and take care of the parents because they're old and they have hard time. They can't take their garbage, all of those different things. But for my brother, I'm just like, how are you ever going to find a mate if you're staying close to your parents? You know, it's difficult. There's not enough room for somebody to move in, right, to your life. So there's a lot of things that are going to be really beneficial for both of you in this. So you know, like sometimes when those voices come that, you know, like just attend to the pain, just like pat that baby on the back and say, oh, I feel ya. Oh, baby, I feel ya. Right? And then just say, okay, but you know, this could also be really good, right? This could be really good because, you know, I'm sure that you have trained your daughter in a lot of things, and I'm sure that she's a lot more resourceful than she knows. And you're giving her an opportunity to show off her stuff, right? Absolutely. Well, you know, this is what growing up is all about, right? And the biggest thing that we can do as moms is to trust our children. Like, we have been raising them so that they could survive without us. That is what we've been doing. And yeah, I mean, the thing is that sometimes, you know, it just is too easy to kind of crawl back to comfort, right? But there's going to be a lot of big changes, and they're going to be great for her. They're going to be wonderful for her. So have no guilt, no feelings of abandonment, right? You know, for there could be something deeper there too. You might look and see there might be something. Maybe you abandoned her in a past life. Maybe you're trying to make up for it. You know, if that's the case, then go into that part of yourself, and you can talk to her higher self and your higher self and say, I'm sorry I abandoned you, and I've done my best to help you not feel abandoned in this life. I trust you to your source. Your source is her source is responsible for all of her soul healing, and she will get there. She will always get there. Our souls will not give up on us until we get there. So everyone have a wonderful Miracle Sunday. Julia, good luck on your move. I don't know when this is happening, but there's some big exciting stuff coming up. Yeah, I think so too. It's really easy for us to love and carry. July 1st, wow, that's coming up soon. Yeah, to love and to, for many of us, to care means to carry, right? And there's a point, you said that your daughter does bully you sometimes. So that makes me think that she's a thumb girl, which means that she's going to be just fine, right? If she's a thumb girl, she's developed the bully archetype, that's the negative of a thumb person. So that means that she's actually pretty good at going after what she wants. And she's got strong will and strong determination. It's the ones that don't have strong wills and strong thumbs and that don't bully. Those are the ones you have to worry about a little bit more. But yeah, so I think that you guys are going to be just fine. So that's a really big thing. But yeah, why it's very interesting because it's like, Julia, all of the things that you have shared with me over your life really, from like, if I look at it from a soul diagnostic perspective, um, to me, you're an old soul that's in a particular development, which is the development level is that you're trying to make up for all the things that you did in your lower incarnation still. And and that includes disowning money, getting rid of any needs, abandoning yourself completely, right? Because the soul goes through this period where in its younger lifetimes it makes all these mistakes. And then once it has the awareness of these mistakes, it tries to fix them. And so then it goes through another great big journey of where it's like selfless and just lets everybody do whatever they want to them, right? They're playing penance for all of the things that they've done in their less informed state, right? And I believe that you're coming into the full circle, which is welcoming back the parts of yourself that you abandoned in your it's almost like if we were to say level one is where you did all the things that you did, right? But those things, those personality traits that were developed there, they knew how to make money, they knew how to take care of self, they knew how to survive on this plane, right? So then level two is like level two incarnation is like where you're into healing and you're into love and you're into patience and compassion. You're learning and you're developing all of the spiritual attributes in your incarnations, right? But it comes with a selflessness because you've tied up and put in the basement all those other parts of you that know how to earn money, that know how to stand up for self and all of those different things, right? So now the thing is that your problems are different because the problems are money and not knowing how to stand up for self, abandoning yourself, right? And that wasn't the same problems that you had in level one, which was I don't know how to be patient, I don't know how to be kind, I don't know how to not kill people, things like that, right? but now it's like this level that you're entering into now is the level of where you're allowing others to do for themselves, allowing like to realize that we can't make up for all of these things that we did, right? And to unlock those parts of yourself and to bring them all into the circle that are still stuck at level one and to bring them and introduce them, right? Your healer is introduced to your murderer and they get together and they inform one another of the soul path, right? You have all of these things that keep all these other things in check and it's safe for them to be out now, right? It's safe for them to be out now because you have all these other parts of yourself that keep them in check, right? Like like we all have parts of us that are wild little animals, right? But they are tempered by the parts of us that love and the parts of us that have compassion and the parts of us that have patience, right? And so it is safe for all of them to exist together, right? Because we temper, all of our parts are tempered by one another. And but we want to be the whole rainbow, we want to be the whole pot of gold, and we'll always only be a half a pot of gold as long as we keep our money maker self in the dungeon of our existence, right? So yeah, so I think that's the level of soul development that you're in, is that you're learning how to bring back and have patience. So that would be having patience for rich people, having patience for men that hurt women, having patience for all these different things, because all of these come back. And like, if you really understand that no human has ever done anything wrong, okay, it's all soul and lower energies, right? These lower energies, under the influence of lower energies, will all do anything. And we have to let ourselves off the hook for that. So anyways, have a wonderful Sunday, guys. Love to you all. Bye.